Alright, C, you ready? Good. Before we begin, I feel the need to mention that this file will contain castration, cannibalism, harm to an infant, and mass casualties due to natural disaster. But if you made it this far, I'm sure that won't stop you. The anomaly we'll be covering today is best known as SCP-2845, otherwise known as the Deer God. You'll see why in just a moment. For now, we have the Object Class, Anomalous Entity, Containment Class, Extreme, and Hazard Rating, Black. The containment policies and procedures for this one are a bit of a headache, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it verbatim. As per Section 4, Subsection 1 of the January Accords, containment of SCP-2845 is a joint effort between the Foundation, the United States National Guard, the United States State Department, the United States Department of Homeland Security, and the United Nations Special Task Force Blue Alpha. Authorization of outsourced containment consultants for the purposes of SCP-2845's containment upkeep is granted in perpetuity by the O5 Council, according to Operations Policy 336.87.B.whatever. Information regarding SCP-2845 and its containment is considered Tier 3 high security as according to the amended Public Information Policy and overseen by Special Information Team 45. Misinformation regarding SCP-2845 and its containment is widespread and at high risk of weaponization by external governments and groups of interest. SCP-2845 is under Chatterbox Protocol according to PIP 47.1.1. Site-100 has been constructed specifically for the containment of SCP-2845 to the following specifications. A central chamber containing SCP-2845 and 216 instances of SCP-2845-1, which we'll get to in just a moment. Internal atmosphere is to consist of 96.3% hydrogen, 3.25% helium, and 0.45% ammonia, maintained at negative 110 degrees Celsius at a pressure of 2.3 bar. 9 concentric circular structures designated Ring A through Ring I, 6 circular chambers located on each ring at 0, 60, 120, 180, 240, and 300 degrees, with 0 degrees aligned to geographic north. And finally, the floor of each chamber is inlaid with an unobstructed lead hexagram. Got a little note from the Ethics Committee in here. Containment of SCP-2845 has been granted a Special Personnel Requirement exception for the usage of 1 D-Class and 1 H-Class subject per containment cycle. Now, if this is your first time dealing with the SCP Foundation, you might not be familiar with these terms, so let me clarify. D-Class personnel aren't really personnel, they're people that are assigned as test subjects for anomalies. Normally, these are convicted criminals such as death row inmates or political prisoners. As for H-Class personnel, there isn't really any documented cases of this, but we can speculate that these are children. Well, let's find out what they're for, shall we? The following procedures are to be carried out in succession during each conjunction of the Earth and Saturn, recurring every 378 days according to the synodic period and performed no more than 6 hours before or after true conjunction. Each procedure must be carried out by 6 individuals. At the beginning of each period, containment procedures will be carried out in the next ring closest to the containment chamber, returning to Ring 1 upon cycle completion. So, in case you didn't catch that, 6 hours before or after, 6 individuals, 6 rings. That's a little cute, isn't it? Anyways, procedure number 1. 410 Cassini at the 60-degree mark. Containment specialists are presented with masks representing joy, sadness, anger, apathy, fear, and foolishness, and act out Ceremony Cassini A. Ceremony Cassini A is a farcical comedy of errors and exchange of insults between the 6 individuals, culminating in foolishness outwitting the group in a game of riddles and declaring himself king. The conclusion of Ceremony Cassini A is followed by a game of dice. The winner of the game is irrelevant to the procedure. Procedure number 2, 420 Perinaldo, 120-degree mark. Performance of Holst Opus 32, movement 5 for flute, oboe, clarinet, French horn, timpani, and bass drum. The piece is accompanied by specific somatic and vocal components carried out by the players throughout the performance, designated Ceremony Perinaldo A. The performance must be live. Procedure number 3, 430 Epimetheus, 180-degree mark. Gifts are exchanged among containment specialists. Content of gifts is irrelevant to the procedure, but each gift must not exceed $4.28 USD in worth. Each gift is accompanied by a recitation of Ceremony Epimetheus A in its entirety, and the scattering of grain around the containment chamber. Unfortunately, we have no record of what exactly Epimetheus A is. Procedure 4, 440 Cassiel at the 240-degree mark. Ceremony Cassiel A is recited as containment specialists bind their feet with wool and consume 60 milliliters of olive oil. They then will break apart a rock weighing at least 20 kilograms with hammers. Ceremony Cassiel B is recited throughout. Once again, we have no documentation on what exactly Ceremony Cassiel B is. This is the case for all future ceremonies and recitations mentioned. Procedure number 5, 450 Cairo at the 300 degree mark. A D-class subject is prepared by painting a symbol, ring surrounding a dot with an arrow pointing upwards at the 90 degree point, on the stomach with a platinum-based solution, and presented with a blue cloak, crown, and scepter. D-class subject is then restrained in a chair, and Ceremony Cairo A is recited. After recitation of the Ceremony Cairo A, the D-class subject is castrated by use of a hand sickle by a containment specialist. The testes are then to be disposed of in a bowl of salt water as Ceremony Cairo B is recited. Do you ever wonder what's on the resume of a containment specialist? Do you think they mention castration as a special skill? I'm guessing they don't. Anyway, Procedure 6, 460 Omphalos, at the 0 degree mark. Ceremony Omphalos A is to be recited before termination and roasting of an H-class subject of no more than 3 months of age. Ceremony Omphalos B is to be recited before consumption. After consumption of the child, Ceremony Omphalos C is to be recited over a bowl of small gastroliths, which are then swallowed. Vomiting is then induced, and Ceremony Omphalos D is recited, ending containment procedures. I'll bet you that one's not on the resume. In the case of containment breach, Site 100's nuclear device is to be detonated, followed by the lockdown of all Foundation facilities and activation of Protocol 2845 XK1, otherwise known as Strike Down the Moon. But, if we're being honest, I don't think even a Foundation nuke could take this thing out. Okay, I'm sure you're wondering, what exactly is this thing that's immune to nukes and requires the castration of men and cannibalism of children to contain? So let's get into it, shall we? SCP-2845 is an extraterrestrial quadruped entity, measuring 2.9 meters in height at the shoulder. The neck, generally held in an upright position, extends a further 0.5 meters, terminating in a head with humanoid facial features. SCP-2845 possesses antlers measuring 4.8 meters across. Antlers are white with black marbling in coloration and have not been observed to shed. SCP-2845 is covered in hair with an average length of 10 centimeters, except for the face, which is hairless. SCP-2845's coloration is primarily a pastel green with a stripe of cream on the underside of the neck and belly. A ring of ice particles is suspended 15 centimeters behind SCP-2845's skull, measuring 1.7 meters in diameter with a ring thickness of 35 centimeters. This ring is interrupted at regular intervals by 7 spheres of metallic hydrogen and metallic helium, each measuring 15 centimeters in diameter. The ring and spheres rotate clockwise at a speed of 1.6 RPM. The force maintaining the movement of the ring and the physical state of the spheres, and the means by which SCP-2845 is capable of supporting its head under the weight of its antlers, are unknown. SCP-2845 is capable of instantaneous transmutation and reconstruction of matter. No matter is created or destroyed during this process. Transmuted matter will remain stable regardless of external conditions. Phase changes will remain in their transmuted state regardless of outside temperature and pressure. Altered atmosphere will maintain chemical consistency and not mix with unaltered atmosphere outside the area of effect. Here are the common transmutation results. Number 1, structures of metallic hydrogen and helium, usually not appearing to have any function or aesthetic direction, but mostly taking organic or plant-like forms. Number 2, pools of liquid hydrogen and helium. Number 3, conversion of atmosphere into a hydrogen-helium-ammonia mix. SCP-2845 will typically surround itself with a transmuted area with a radius of approximately 5 meters. And number 4, SCP-2845-1 instances. Now you might have read this thing turns people into shapes. Well, let's get into exactly what that means. SCP-2845 will use directed transmutations against attackers or obstacles. Typically, these transmutations are a column measuring 5 to 7 meters in diameter and 60 to 80 meters in height, or a horizontal cone measuring between 100 and 150 meters in length and 10 to 30 meters in width at the furthest end. SCP-2845 has been observed to attack single targets at distances of up to 10 kilometers. Early observation of SCP-2845 during recovery indicated that it will generally ignore non-combatants, focusing on retaliation against attackers. However, SCP-2845 was not seen to make any attempts to spare non-combatants within the area of effect of its transmutations, and later recovery accounts indicate preemptive attacks against both military and civilian targets. SCP-2845-1 designates organisms that have been modified by SCP-2845. Instances of SCP-2845-1 are hexagonal columns uniformly measuring 2.4 meters in height with rubbery yellow-green skin. SCP-2845-1 instances do not have any outward sense organs, and autopsy has shown that internal organs are likewise absent, except for the brain, which now takes up the entirety of the column and contains the reconstituted mass of the other organs and some additional outside materials. It is unknown how SCP-2845-1 instances derive nutrients or if any nutrition is required. Neuroimaging of SCP-2845-1 specimens has revealed that the brain is in a constant state of high activity. Analysis of multiple specimens indicates patterns of call and response, so some form of remote communication between SCP-2845-1 is presumed. Motile variants of SCP-2845-1 have been reported, but have evaded capture and study. So yeah, it will turn you into some kind of column or cone if it feels like it. And we're not even sure why. So yeah, probably best to stay away from this one. But you might be wondering, how was this thing even contained in the first place? Well, luckily we have the entire account. Let's get into it. On November 27th, 2011, a comet known as C-2011-W3 was spotted, later confirmed by multiple observatories. On December 16th, a fragment was seen breaking off from the main body of that comet. On December 21st, the fragment impacted in the Pacific Ocean, 124 kilometers off the western American coast. Despite evacuation attempts, estimated Day 1 casualties caused by the resultant tsunami were between 160,000 and 190,000. A state of emergency was then declared by the United States. It's believed SCP-2845 then reached shore 3 days later. Finally, on Christmas Day, December 25th, first observation of SCP-2845 was through civilian video footage. The first contact specialists were deployed. Foundation assets within the United States military began direction of recovery and containment procedures, with the assistance of United Nations Special Task Force Blue Alpha. Mobile Task Forces MU-9, Alpha 3, and Esoteric Warfare Unit Squads 3, 5, 9, and 12 were deployed. Casualties were high. Foundation containment sites in the region entered lockdown. For the next 4 days, artillery bombardment of the SCP commences and continues. Contact with outside containment consultants is made, and it's confirmed that SCP-2845 is moving directly towards Site-115. On December 31st, the Overseer Council declared a unanimous vote of a VK-class lifted veil event. Initiation of public-facing woodwork protocols ensued. Bombardment continued. For the next 2 weeks, SCP-2845 carves a passage through the Sierra Nevada mountains under heavy bombardment. During this time, the SCP Foundation, presumably alongside their allies, are working on a way to contain the entity. After 3 days of work, the initial containment procedures end in success. After that, construction of Site-100 begins, and the finalized containment procedures are implemented a few weeks later. In mid-February of 2012, SCP-2845 is declared contained. Quite the tale, isn't it? Yeah, dear God, indeed. Well, some of you might be wondering, how did the Foundation know to castrate men and cannibalize children in order to keep this thing in place? Well, lucky for you, we were able to get a statement from a containment consultant who wrote to the Ethics Committee on the containment of SCP-2845, which reads as follows. Ladies and gentlemen of the Ethics Committee, good morning. My name is Sage of the Secret Root, and I have been elected to speak with you today on the containment requirements of SCP-2845. The briefing you have been provided is correct. The containment procedure requires the ritual castration of a man and the cannibalization of an infant. Unfortunately, I am afraid that there is nothing that can be done about it. Rituals such as this work through the repetition of arbitrary criteria, rather than adherence to underlying laws as one would find through science. The belief that meeting these criteria achieves a certain end assigns power to the ritual. We make a meaning of our own devising. However, we are not totally free to do so. The ritual needs some resonance with the subject to work, and appropriateness. Hence the requirements. Some gods are only appeased with blood. I know that your organization doesn't approve of the term, but this is still the case. The stag is a god, and it is not a mild god of earth. All the same, we have, for the time being, fooled it into thinking that we have overpowered it, and that is how we seal it away. But this means that once a ritual of this sort has been set in place, there cannot be any removals or substitutions. Making revisions would require breaking containment and starting over again from the beginning. Our initial designs for the ritual required upkeep every 3 days, and we could have easily trapped ourselves in that, were we not able to catch a major flaw in the binding elements before execution and reduce frequency to once a year. We weren't able to reduce it further. The I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Even with the ritual in place, if the stag thought to escape, it would, and we would be powerless to stop it. The entire facility would vanish in a puff of hydrogen, so let us be thankful then that it does not think at all. This is an old god. It does not dabble in decisions. Decisions are for creatures who may act inconsistently. A god of this strength simply is. It is an absolute. It may choose this or that no more than gravity might. In building this ritual, we have shifted its being the slightest bit, and now it is locked into a pattern of behavior. It struggles against us, we struggle against it, and we are locked together in an eternal dance so long as the ritual remains intact. If one thing goes awry, the deadlock is broken and all is lost. We will have an unstoppable force without an immovable object. The rituals here have been defined as the best course of action. There are powerful symbols there, and whether or not you or I think they are appropriate to the situation is irrelevant. I do not know why it came here, nor to what end, but I have listened to the pillars it makes of us. They are singing mysteries closed to us. They are not suffering, they have been changed utterly. The same fate awaits us all if this fails. Thank you for your time. Well, that's all we have for this anomaly. Hopefully you'll be a little more prepared if ever an alien god crashes on your doorstep. So for now, stay safe, and remember to always ask yourself, is ignorance really safer than truth?